Ever notice how some plays just kind of stick with you? Like, even after the curtain falls, they keep making you think.
Yeah, for sure. There's some that really get under your skin.
Well, that's exactly how I feel about Bertolt Brecht's The Caucasian Chalk Circle. It's this journey that takes you to some unexpected places, and knowing it was written as World War II was ending, premiering in the US right after, adds this whole other layer of meaning.
Oh yeah, the historical context is so important with Brecht. And for this deep dive, we're going deep into the play, but we also have this secret weapon, Eric Bentley.
I love it when we have a secret weapon source. Tell me more.
Well, you could say he practically introduced Brecht to the English-speaking world. And get this, he directed the very first professional production of the Caucasian Chalk Circle in America.
So his insights aren't just informed, they're like straight from the source.
Exactly. And Bentley, right in his preface, zeroes in on these huge questions that Brecht is wrestling with. It goes beyond just who owns what. It's about the whole idea of ownership itself. You know that old saying, possession is 9/10 of the law.
Yeah.
Is that really the final word, or should we be questioning how things are owned and by whom?
That is a huge Ishi-E question and something we still grapple with today. It makes you wonder what Brecht was going for.
Well, he gets right to it. He doesn't beat around the bush. And he frames it with this really powerful question straight from Bentley. Who owns a child and by what right?
Whoa, that's heavy. So how does Brecht tackle that?
Well, what's fascinating is how he throws us a curveball right off the bat with the play's prologue. Bentley actually points out that this part was often cut in early U.S. productions, but it's set on these Soviet collective farms in Georgia in 1945, and it drops you right into this really specific world.
So we're talking post-war Soviet Union collective farms. Sounds like a recipe for some serious drama. What goes down?
Well, you've got these two farms, Rosa Luxemburg and Galinsk, and they're locked in this heated debate over a piece of land. Now, this land was reclaimed after the Germans pulled out. So the Rosa Luxemburg Collective, they're thinking, hey, this is our land. We were here first.
Right, makes sense. You'd think that would be an open and shut case.
But the Galinsk farm, they come back with this whole plan about how they can make way better use of this land. They're talking vineyards, orchards, a whole agricultural transformation. And get this, they even have blueprints for an irrigation project, all hinging on getting this valley.
So it's not just about who owned it before, but who can make the best use of it moving forward.
Exactly. And it's not just a casual chat between neighbors either. They bring in this delegate all the way from the State Reconstruction Commission in Tiflis to make the call. And as they hash it out, they drop all this very particular terminology.
Lots of comrades being thrown around, I bet. I mean, it was the Soviet Union after all.
Oh, yeah. Which Bentley says probably landed differently with American audiences back then. But what really throws you for a loop is how it all gets settled. The delegate basically tells them to figure it out amongst themselves. And in the end, and this might surprise you, the land goes to the collective that can prove they'll use it most effectively.
So it's not about who had it before or even who has the strongest legal claim. It's all about who's going to make it flourish.
That's Brecht for you, flipping the script. And there are these little gems sprinkled throughout, like they even quote the poet Mayakovsky. The home of the Soviet people shall also be the home of reason. It's like
Uh-huh.
they're saying, forget the old ways. We're building a new world based on logic and progress.
Wow, okay, that's a lot to unpack. So we've got this prologue set in the Soviet Union grappling with these really complex questions about ownership and what's fair, and then
And then we get this smooth transition into the heart of the play itself, which is actually framed as an adaptation of an old Chinese story.
wait, what? So there's a story within the story.
Yep. We have the singer character, Arkady Chaitza, and he's the one who introduces the play as this ancient tale being retold. It's like Brecht is saying, look, these issues of justice and who deserves what, they're not just some Soviet problem, they're timeless human dilemmas.
Okay, I am intrigued. So what's this ancient tale all about?
Well, it unfolds in two parts. Part one is called The Flight, and it takes us to Grusenia, right in the middle of this crazy revolt. Governor Abashvili has just been overthrown, and things are pure chaos.
So we're talking political upheaval, social unrest, the perfect setting for some high-stakes drama.
Oh yeah, and right in the thick of it, we meet Grusha Vashnadze. She's a simple kitchen maid, but she ends up doing something extraordinary.
What does she do?
While everyone else is scrambling for safety or trying to grab whatever loot they can, Grusha rescues the governor's infant son, Michael. She sees this helpless baby abandoned in all the chaos, and she just acts.
That's incredible, especially considering she's just a maid caught up in this huge uprising.
And It's even more striking when you contrast her with the governor's wife. The wife is more worried about saving her fancy dresses than her own child. It's like Brecht is highlighting the difference between true compassion and superficial values right from the start.
So Grusha basically becomes this child's guardian, even though she has no ties to him.
Precisely. She's not his mom, but she takes on this huge responsibility. And this decision sends her on this perilous journey to the northern mountains. She's trying to escape the violence in the capital, but she's also trying to outrun the Iron Shirts.
Who are the Iron Shirts?
They're the prince's soldiers. And they're looking for the governor's heir, which means they're looking for Michael.
Oh, wow. So Grusha and this baby are basically on the run from the authorities. This is intense.
Yeah, and the play doesn't shy away from showing how hard it is. Grusha faces constant danger and hardship. She can barely find enough food for the baby. She's got these close calls with soldiers. And then there's that heart-stopping moment when she has to cross this rickety old bridge over a glacier.
Sounds terrifying.
It is. Brecht even wrote this powerful song for that scene called The Song of the Rotten Bridge. It captures the fear and uncertainty of Grusha's journey perfectly.
So it's a physical journey, but it sounds like it's an emotional one, too. How does Grusha cope?
She just keeps going. She's driven by this instinct to protect this child. And it all leads up to this pivotal moment after 22 grueling days near this massive glacier called the Jangatau Glacier. It's there, exhausted and facing the unknown, that Grusha makes the choice to fully adopt Michael.
She goes from being his protector to his mother, in every sense of the word. That's beautiful.
And it's marked by this incredibly moving song. Since no one else will take you, son, I must take you. It's raw and honest, just like Grusha's journey.
Okay, so part one ends with this powerful image of Grusha claiming Michael as her own. What happens next?
Well, that's when the play shifts gears completely. Part two is called Azdak the Judge, and it introduces us to this wild new character and a whole different kind of justice.
So we've gone from Grusha's journey, which is all about maternal instinct and survival, to a courtroom drama.
Sort of, but not your typical courtroom drama. See, we meet Azdak, and he's this village scrivener. But thanks to this crazy chain of events, he ends up becoming a judge.
Okay, how does a village scrivener become a judge? That doesn't seem like a typical career path.
It's definitely not. Azdak ends up sheltering this fugitive, and we're pretty sure it's the Grand Duke who got overthrown at the beginning. Then, when the Fat Prince takes over, Azdak, either out of guilt or maybe just to save his own skin, he turns himself in for helping the fugitive.
Wait, so he confesses to a crime, and they make him a judge. What's going on here?
It's pure Brecht. See, the Iron Shirts, they're in charge now, and they need someone to be the judge. But they don't have a legal system to speak of, and they're desperate. So when Azdak confesses, they're like, well, at least this guy's honest. Let's make him the judge. It's like the blind leading the blind.
Oh my gosh, it's like everything in this play is turned upside down. So what kind of judge is Azdak?
Well, let's just say he's not exactly following the rule book. Bentley gives us some great examples of his cases. Like, there's this dispute between the innkeeper's daughter-in-law and this stable man. It's a mess of accusations, and Azdak just throws out all legal precedent. It's like he's making up the rules as he goes along.
He sounds more like a comedian than a judge.
In a way, he is. Bentley calls him a mock king, an abbot of unreason. He even compares him to this concept from ancient comedy and the Saturnalia.
Saturnalia, like the Roman festival.
Exactly. It was this time when the normal rules of society were flipped and people could let loose and mock authority. And Bentley argues that Azdak is like this embodiment of that temporary chaos. He's this lord of misrule, presiding over this brief golden age where the usual power structures are turned on their head.
It's like Brecht is saying, what if we took everything we thought we knew about law and order and just tossed it out the window?
Yeah, and it's not that Azdak is some perfect, wise sage. He's actually got his own flaws. He could be cowardly, and his judgments aren't always truly just. But Bentley says he's using this feigned stupidity, this act, to expose how messed up the system really is.
He's like a court jester, but with a sharp wit and a hidden sense of justice.
Right. And what's interesting is that, for all his absurdity, Azdak seems genuinely touched by Grusha's humanity. It's like he recognizes something pure in her that he doesn't see in most people.
Okay, so we've got this chaotic, unpredictable judge presiding over this world turned upside down, and then Grusha enters the picture.
Precisely. And that leads us to the climax of the play, the trial that everyone's been waiting for, the trial of the chalk circle. Remember the governor's wife? Well, she's back, and now that things have calmed down, she wants her son back.
Oh man, this is it. The showdown for Michael's future.
And get this, To decide who the rightful mother is, Azdag pulls out this ancient method called the shock circle.
A chalk circle, how does that work?
So they draw this circle on the ground, and Azdag tells both Grusha and the governor's wife to place Michael inside it. Then he says they both have to pull him out, and whoever manages to drag him out of the circle will be declared the true mother.
Wow, that's brutal.
It's meant to be a test of their maternal bond, their willingness to fight for the child. And it plays out exactly how you'd expect. The governor's wife, she doesn't hesitate. She yanks on Michael, not caring if he hurts him, just focused on winning.
I bet Grisha reacts differently.
She does. She starts pulling, but then she stops. She can't bring herself to cause Michael any pain. She'd rather lose than see him suffer. It's a powerful moment that reveals the depth of her love for him.
And that's what sways Azdak's judgment.
Absolutely. He sees right through the governor's wife's selfishness, and he's deeply moved by Grusha's selflessness. He declares Grusha the true mother, not based on blood or legal claims, but on her actions, her capacity to love and protect.
So in Azdak's court, love triumphs over everything else.
You could say that. And his judgment sets off a chain reaction of fitting outcomes. Michael gets to stay with Grusha, and we even find out that Simon will be his father. Their love story, which was kind of a side plot, gets a happy ending too.
What about the governor's wife?
Well, Azdak doesn't just give Michael to Grusha. He also takes away the governor's estates and turns them into a giant playground for all the children. He calls it Azdak's garden. It's like he's saying, let's build a world where children come first, where their needs and their joy are prioritized.
That's an amazing image and such a fitting punishment for the governor's wife's neglect.
And just when you think it can't get any more surprising, Azdak grants Grisha a divorce. But not from her husband, from this old couple who actually came to him seeking a divorce. It's a final act of absurdity and compassion, like he's trying to right all the wrongs in the world before he disappears.
Wait, disappears? What happens to him?
He vanishes just as suddenly as he appeared. It's like this brief, shining moment of unconventional justice, and then it's gone. But his impact is undeniable.
So we end with Grusha and Michael together. The governor's estates turn into a children's paradise. And Azdak, this enigmatic figure fading into legend.
And the singer, he wraps it all up with these words that really hit home. That what there is shall go to those who are good for it, the valley to the waterers, that it yield fruit.
It's like the play comes full circle, back to that idea from the prologue, that it's not about who owns something first, but who can make it thrive.
Exactly. Brecht is challenging us to rethink the whole concept of ownership and to consider what truly matters. Care, nurturing, and making the world a better place.
So we started this deep dive talking about how some plays just stay with you, and the Caucasian chalk circle is definitely one of them.
It's a play that makes you question everything.
Right.
Justice, ownership, even what it means to be a mother. And it does it all with this unique blend of humor, drama, and social commentary.
And what's so amazing is that even though it was written over 70 years ago, it still feels so relevant today. We're still grappling with these same questions.
Right.
What's fair? Who deserves what? And how do we create a more just world?
And that brings us to this really thought-provoking idea that Bentley raises. He says the prologue presents this optimistic vision of a future where reason rules, where decisions are made logically and for the benefit of all. But the play itself shows how messy and complicated that can be in reality.
So is Azdak's time as judge, this brief period of upside-down justice, a sign of what's possible? Or is it just a fleeting glimpse of an ideal that's ultimately unattainable?
That's the question Brecht leaves us with. Is true justice something that can be codified and imposed? Or is it something more fluid, something that requires constant adaptation and maybe even a little bit of creative chaos?
Man, that's heavy stuff. And it makes me wonder, what would a world ruled by Azdak's brand of justice really look like? It's definitely something to ponder, and maybe it'll even inspire you to explore more of Brecht's works or dig deeper into the historical context of the play. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the Caucasian chalk circle. It's a play that's sure to keep those wheels turning long after you've finished listening.
You bet. It's a classic for a reason, and there's always something new to discover in it.